Welcome, you guys. So, we are here today with Sharon Canaday, who is also a math tutor. And for those of you that are interested in, setting up a bigger tutoring business, you're going to be motivated today to listen to Sharon's story because she actually has other tutors that do work for her as well built into her system. Now, she didn't start that way in her tutoring business, but we're going to find out today why she left the teaching world and how her business came to be today. So, Sharon, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here.
Glad I could be here.
Yay. What inspired you to become a teacher initially?
Initially, I was a struggling learner as a student. I believe I had dyslexia. And I had some fairly traumatic life experiences early on. My mother died when I was in second grade. So teachers
Mm.
were super important in my life. And
Mm.
I saw what an impact a teacher could have on a child's life. And I wanted to be a part of that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And what was that like exact moment where you knew that teaching no longer was for you, like the teaching profession?
I don't think I ever had a moment when the teaching profession was not for me. I think
Mm.
classroom teaching was not for me. But
Yes.
I never divorced myself from teaching. I couldn't do that. It's
Mm.
too much a part of my DNA.
Yeah, yeah. What was it like for you when when you were in the school system?
So I actually had 2 points where I've left the school system. I left the school system when my oldest child was born because I didn't feel like I could be a good mom and be a good teacher. Like both of them would get shortchanged by me trying to do both.
Yeah.
Some people can do
Yeah.
that. I can't. And so I walked away from teaching at that point and stayed home with my kids, ran a daycare, homeschooled for 15 years. And I knew I probably would end up back in the classroom at some point, but I did have a little doubt in the back of my mind as I was homeschooling whether or not I could really get myself to fit back into the classroom model again. Tried it for
Mm.
3 years, two of which were in a small school setting, in a Christian school. And it wasn't a good match. It just wasn't a good
Yeah.
match.
Yeah.
I tried to make it work, and I was working slavery hours.
Yep.
I had people telling me how to run my classroom who didn't even have college degrees, let alone education degrees.
Hmm.
I honestly think there were some people on my school board who weren't even high school graduates, trying to tell me how to run my classroom. And
Mm.
I had had 15 years of pretty much deciding how to run my classroom myself and not having anybody mess with me. And
Yeah.
so, they didn't renew my contract, and that hurt at the moment. But at the same time, very quickly, like within a month or two, I was able to see that as a real blessing. Like,
Yeah.
there's,
Because is that when you started your tutoring business?
yep, yep. And I started out first working for someone else. It was
Okay.
2020. And so education
Hmm.
was on fire. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going back to the classroom this year for sure. So maybe I'll sub a little bit. Maybe I'll do some tutoring. I started doing some tutoring for a tutoring company here in the Phoenix area. We also moved. That was fun during COVID. Um, but it sort of gave me a restart. So I started doing some tutoring for a tutoring company here in Phoenix. And within 3 or 4 weeks of signing that contract, I realized that was really stupid. I I had been doing a little bit of tutoring at different points while I was homeschooling, and
Huh?
20 years earlier, I had done tutoring for a tutoring company at $25 an hour, and I signed this contract at $20 an hour after 20 more
Ooh.
years of experience. Yeah, it was stupid of me to do that, but I was lucky because there was no compete clause in it. And the gal I was working with was very happy to, just be one of my sources of income. And I could also develop my own income, which is exactly what I did. So
That's
within a year,
awesome.
yeah, yeah. Within a year, I had stopped working for her and was taking clients of my own at that point. So
Oh, that's
still using my
awesome.
teaching. Yeah, still a teacher, just a different kind of teacher.
Yeah. How did your experience as a teacher influence your approach to tutoring?
Um, I think because I spent so many years homeschooling and so many years in a small school setting when I was in the
Mhm.
classroom, um, I think I had really fine-tuned the one-on-one teaching
Mhm.
experience and realizing how much more powerful it is to sit with
Yeah.
one or maybe two or three students and really be able to meet them where they are.
Yes.
It's so different than standing in front of 20 or 30 kids and trying to meet 20 or 30 kids where they are. I mean,
Yeah.
you can maybe meet the middle 10 or 15 of them, and then there's the 6 or 8 on each end that aren't getting it. And
Right.
Yeah. So and I think that's one of the reasons I wasn't sure I'd be able to go back to the classroom after homeschooling because
Yeah.
it's not an ideal educational setting. It really just isn't.
Right.
We need classrooms. Don't get me wrong. We need classrooms because moms and dads have to work and not everybody is cut out for homeschooling and not everybody can afford to pay tutors to do that for them. So we need schools. Don't get me wrong, but it's not ideal.
Right, right. There's definitely some changes that are going to need to happen inside of our
Yes.
educational system in
Yes.
order for it to be successful or even to compete with the other countries moving into the
Yeah.
future,
Yeah.
of existence. And I think that's
And
that's really, really important.
I think that was one of my real frustrations as a classroom teacher was just how I was handed things to accomplish with the students. And then there was
Hmm.
a certain way that the children were going to demonstrate that I had accomplished that, which was really not a very effective way to demonstrate.
Right,
Standardized
right.
testing is not, you don't want to open that can of worms with me. so so I think having existed in an environment where people didn't hand me curriculums that I had to use, I could find the curriculum that was the right curriculum for the child in front of me. I
Mhm.
want to teach the child. I don't want to teach the curriculum. You can't do
Right.
that in a classroom with 30 kids. You just can't.
Right. Right.
And
The curriculum should be used as a, okay, this is guidance as to like what I need to teach, but now I can also determine, does the child already know this or not know this? Is this something that I need to dive further into or not? Right. It kind of
right,
gives you that like that great rock
freedom.
solid foundation, but at the same time, like
Right,
if you've taught it one way, a lot of times curriculum doesn't say, okay, teach it this way or teach it this way to the kid that didn't get it, right? And
right,
and so you're
right.
like, okay, so I have to figure out my own ways and my own tools and resources to teach them
Which I'm really good
this
at
same
this
thing another
point.
way.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm
I
really
love
good at
it.
that at this point because of all my experience working in a small school or homeschool environment. And so to segue from that into tutoring was a pretty natural transition for me.
And so when you started your own tutoring business, what were some of the challenges that you faced with your tutoring business as after you had kind of like left the other company that you were working for?
The biggest challenge is the one that most of us face because we come from teaching. And my experience was in a mission setting where, you're working these slavery hours and you're getting paid this pittance. And it's difficult to make the transition from that to valuing what I have to offer and being willing
Mm,
to put a price on it that
yeah.
should be on it. Not just, oh, I can do this for $20 an hour. That's what I was doing in the classroom. I actually calculated it out once. The amount of hours I was putting in, the amount of money I was getting, I was making less than minimum wage. So as a
Yeah, and that's
tutor, I'm
crazy.
thinking, oh, I can charge $20 an hour because that's a raise from minimum wage. And it's
Right.
like, no, no, we have to stop and we have to say, not in light of what I was doing before, but in light of where I am now and what I have to offer, this is what I'm worth. And that's a hard transition to make.
It is because a lot of, I think the first place we go is, will parents pay that? Right? We're
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, they'll pay $20. Would they pay 40? Would they pay 50? Would they pay 60? Oh, heck no, they wouldn't pay 100. Surely they wouldn't pay 125, right? Like we play this game of almost like flipping the script to be like, I can't charge this because nobody would pay that versus really saying, okay, what value do I add to this experience for the students that I want to be able to work with.
Yeah.
I can't work with everybody, right? Because I can
Yeah.
only work with so many students. There
So
are plenty of
many
students out there that need
hours in the
help.
day. Yeah.
But you already said in one classroom there were 12 kids needs whose needs weren't being met because
Yeah.
you were teaching to the middle, right? And
Right.
so all those kids at the bottom, that those bottom six, they need help. Sometimes those upper six, they need help in a different
Yes,
way
they
too.
do.
And parents
Yep.
are willing to pay for that because they're like, look, the system is not moving as fast as my child can move. They can do so much more. I want to hire somebody to do that. There are
Yep.
those people that hire people to do that too. So I think it's really important for us to realize what makes you different from other people, right? When we can understand what makes us unique, we figure out first who that ideal student is, we figure out how much we want to charge, and then we figure out what makes us unique and why would people want to
Yeah.
pay the amount that we're
Right.
charging.
What do we have to
We
offer?
realize, I mean, there's some people you've never online taught before, and that's okay. If you guys
Yeah.
haven't taught online, that's all right. Like, don't feel like, oh my gosh, if you want to start off with a child for free because you just want to make sure that you understand how to use the tools, go for it. And then
Yeah,
start, advertising your services. Say, look,
yeah,
I'm giving away 8 weeks for free because I want to be able to learn how to use these resources and tools online. It's not that I
yeah,
don't know how to teach. I know how to teach. I just want to make sure that when I do start charging, that people have a seamless, transition into
right.
the experience.
I think that's a lot of where the value comes in of joining a community. Because if you're sitting here in your office by yourself thinking about these things, it's really hard to get to the place you need to be. And if you don't align
Yeah,
yourself with people who have been down this road before and had these thoughts before and experienced this, hopefully for a good amount of time, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, then you're not going to get there as quickly. I think eventually
right.
I would have gotten to the point where I was willing to charge what I charged, but
Sure, sure.
it probably would have taken me 8, 10, 12 years. So if I think about the amount of more money I'm making in those 8 or 10 or 12 years while I'm waiting to get to that, every dollar I have spent on mentoring from you and from another person I got some mentoring from has been worth it.
Yeah, and I think that's
It's
really important. And we combine that too. Like when we combine that with the coaching, we combine that
mm-hmm,
with the community, right? We
mm-hmm.
combine that with the right courses, we can take our business so much further, so
Yes.
much faster. And
Yep.
and that is the whole reason that we have our Insider Secrets Club
Yep.
3.0 is because we want to make sure that I compare this to like yarn. So, anybody out there ever seen a piece of yarn? It's actually got 3 strands to
Yes.
it. Every piece of yarn has 3 strands, and you can check this out if you don't believe me. But if you take one of those strands and you remove it from the other 2 strands, you can actually rip it. And if you
Pretty
take the
easily.
next one, you can rip that one too very easily. It's amazing. But if you take that one piece of yarn and you pull at it with all 3 strands, you cannot break
Break it.
it. It's
Yep.
not possible. You need scissors to be able to do it. You cannot do it with your hands, right? And this is what makes us stronger as a community, I think,
Yep.
too, is that we've got the we've got the community, we've got the coaching, we've got the courses so that people know exactly what step to take, when to take it. They're not
Yeah.
sitting there and doing the right things in a wrong way, should I say?
Buying business cards
Yes, exactly.
that are still sitting in my cupboard.
let me get 1,000 of those. Those are a pretty good price. And then like yeah, that you sit on them. It's not the best business
Yeah,
decision
but
to
you
be
don't know
made. But we
that
all make the
when
same.
you're,
We don't. We don't.
yeah. And so that's the
We,
value to me of aligning myself with other people is someone can sit there and say, business cards might not be the best use of your money right now. Not saying don't buy business cards. I'm just saying right now, maybe
right,
we should focus on this that doesn't
right,
actually cost anything and work on
right.
this. And that's the
Yeah.
value. And I have to
I
say
always
that
tell
was
people
one of
go
the
after getting
things.
students first.
Yeah. Well, and I have to say that was one of the things I was a little nervous about, even in moving from working in a public school setting to working in the private school setting where it was just me. I was the only one in the
Mhm.
room in the building with those students. And I
Oh,
missed that interaction with my colleagues. Lunch with the gal from across
yeah.
the hall and the counselor that she would come in and join us. We always had lunch together, the three of us, or pop down the hall and see who's in the workroom and see what they think about this thing that I'm thinking about doing. And that camaraderie in the staff, the fun things we did together. We had an awesome principal that would take. She took us to see Jerry Brooks, the guy,
Oh,
the Kentucky principal guy that does the little recordings in his car. She took her whole
oh,
staff to go see him. Yeah, so we did a lot of fun things together, and I missed that when I was tutoring, when I was teaching by myself, and definitely as a tutor, you're going to miss it because you're just home by yourself. You're not interacting with other tutors unless you join a community. And I think
yeah.
the community has really filled that need for me. And I think as teachers, we kind of all have that need. I think
To
maybe
be
that's one of the
connected.
things that,
Yeah.
yeah, I think maybe that's one of the things that attracts us to education in the first place is we're team players. We want to get on there
Yes.
with 8 or 10 other people and make a difference in kids' lives. and
Yep.
and so this fills that need of the team
Yeah,
playing
because
aspect of.
and that team playing piece is like, hey, this is all about the students. It's not about me. And I think
Yep.
the beautiful part is then we also get to refer other people who are,
Yeah.
we've gotten to know them, right? And so it's like another income stream that's coming on in of referrals coming on in. A lot
Yep.
of us think about the referrals that can come on in from obviously happy customers, but
Hmm.
here it's like relationships that you're building with people can also lead to additional students and those kinds of
Yes.
things too. And we're
Yeah.
learning
Yeah.
together while we are building those
Yeah.
relationships. And those relationships take time. We're not about to refer somebody who we don't know at all. Like somebody just
Right.
said, "Okay, can you refer me?" Like, no, I need to get to know you first. I need
Yeah.
to know that you're going to be a good fit for this student
Yep.
and, future students. So
Yep.
how do you measure success in your tutoring career? And how does it compare to like your metrics for success as a teacher?
Well, the metrics for success as a teacher stink. I am again not a fan of standardized testing. I just don't think it really is an accurate reflection of whether you've succeeded as a teacher or not. And the metrics for success in tutoring is my student succeeding? And success in a lot of cases is, does my student not need me anymore? Which is
Yeah,
kind of unfortunate, but there's also a steady stream of new students coming in. So yeah, I mean,
exactly.
I've had several students just in the couple years that I've been doing this so far that have reached a point where their mom and dad said, we really have enjoyed working with you, but I don't think we need you anymore. And I think they expected me to be like, oh no, oh, and I was like, yeah. I mean, I love you guys and I've loved working with your daughter, but I love the idea that she can do this by herself now. That is a
Yeah.
success to me.
I,
So,
I love that. And you mentioned two things, right? It's the student success, but then it's also that steady stream of students that you mentioned coming on in too. Because if
yeah,
you have a steady stream of students, that's showing you success in the types of results that people are happy, or they're finding you and they're hiring you to be able to get additional results with their child. And
right.
that's
Or they
exciting.
come
So you kind of
back.
have like two metrics there. Yeah.
This
They
is
come back
another
if they need
another
help. Yeah.
metric of success because I've got two clients right now that are return clients. I'm tutoring the younger brother of two children that I tutored a couple of years ago, and I have
Hmm.
a teenage girl who had to stop tutoring with me, and because there was a divorce and they were all bickering over whether she needed tutoring, and that's all settled now and she's back. And so I love when a client comes back after, something like that where it had to
Yeah,
stop for some reason
absolutely.
other than me, and then the parents come back and say, hey, let's do more of this. It's good.
Yeah,
So
exactly, exactly. What
I
advice
mean,
would you give teachers who are considering making a similar transition to tutoring?
go at it with an open mind. um, explore what tutoring really is, because I think a lot of us as classroom teachers have a picture of what tutoring is, and
Hmm.
tutoring has a lot of different meanings. The word tutor has a lot of different
It really
meanings.
does.
It
Hmm.
can be someone who helps children with their homework. It can be someone like myself who actually does the instruction of the material. It can be so many different things. It can be a life coach. I know there's a lot of executive function coach type people that call themselves tutors. And so you have to kind of be willing to stretch your idea of what tutoring is. I think a lot of teachers, I've experienced this with talking to teacher friends and said, you might want to think about tutoring. And they kind of, oh, I don't know if I want to just tutor. It's like it's not just tutoring. It is
Right.
such a
Yes.
fulfilling thing to do. I
Yeah.
pinch myself on a regular basis. I'm so fortunate to get up in the morning and spend 3 or 4 hours with kids who want to learn math and helping them make tremendous strides in their ability. And and then I spend the rest of my day helping other tutors do that. And it's just like, wow, it just, I don't know. Maybe it's me, but it just doesn't seem like it gets much better than that.
Yeah, I know exactly. It really doesn't. How do you
Yeah.
see your role as a tutor evolving in the future? And what are your long-term goals that you have?
Long-term goals. Having worked on and off in this system and that system, I do not have a 401k. And my husband has worked as a contractor most of his life, so he doesn't have a 401k either. So the words retirement are really not in our vocabulary. And that's okay, because I can keep doing this until I either mentally or physically can't anymore. I love
Hmm.
it. I love doing it. I love how flexible I can be. I can travel and still tutor, or travel
Hmm.
and choose not to tutor. I have tutors working for me. So if I have clients that are like, I don't want to miss 2 weeks while you're in the Northeast seeing the colorful leaves, then I can be like, you know what? Maybe Frank could work with your daughter while I'm gone for 2 weeks. Or I
Yep.
just, I love how flexible it is, and that I don't have to think, oh, what am I going to do about retirement? I'm not going to retire. I love what I do, and it's not taxing. It's not something that I come home at the end of the day just exhausted.
Right.
I'm not taxed by what I do. I love what I do. And so
Yeah.
long-term goals is to just keep doing it. I do want it to change a little bit. I do want to be maybe more a larger percentage of what we might call passive income, helping
Mhm.
tutors in your community, helping the tutors that work for me, maybe transition from working for me to doing their own business. There's some passive income there, even just my tutors working for me, because I get a certain percentage of what the parents pay for them. But I don't ever want to not have my finger in the sitting down with a student and teaching them the
Yeah,
joy.
I feel the same way. I feel the same way. That's why I still work with students too, because I'm just like,
Yeah.
I just love it so much, and I can't
Yeah.
imagine not doing it. It always puts a smile on my face, and it feels good to put a smile on the kids' faces too,
Yes.
to see them like accomplishing it. And
Yeah.
I love being able to help the tutors as well. And so I'm so glad that you're a part of our community. In fact, Sharon is one of the leaders inside of our community. And if you're interested in being able to learn more, there's going to be a link inside of the chat that you can click on to be able to learn more about the community. And that directly goes to Sharon. She is an affiliate of our community, which also means that she gets a percentage. She's a 30-day coach. She supports the tutors that come on in for the first 30 days so that they can get their, you know, idea of like, okay, how
Bearings.
does the community
Yeah.
work? Yeah, their
Hmm.
bearings inside of this so that everything um, goes as smoothly as you want it to go. And you
Hmm.
have that support that you're looking for. Because again, we don't know what it is that we don't know. Well, thank you so much, Sharon, for sharing your story, your journey, and experience with this. And I'm so excited for you guys to really get your bearings on your tutoring business. I think one of the things is we think we know everything we need to know about like running a tutoring business, and then we start running it and we realize all the things we actually don't know that we have to master in order to get really good at it. And that's what our community is here for. It's
Yes.
here to help you with the group coaching aspect of it so that you don't have to pay, thousands of dollars for a coach. We're here to support you and saying here are the steps that you need to take in your business for where you're at right now.
Right.
And it's also that community aspect where we are specifically, getting to connect with other tutors in a meaningful way so that all
Hmm.
of us can get the results that we want inside of our tutoring business. So
Yep.
thanks for joining us, Sharon. Thank you guys for our listeners for joining us, and we will see you soon.
All right.